Welcome to episode 12 of the Quirky Monday Craftcast. My name is Kalisha, and I'm coming to you today from my home in Central Florida. Today is Sunday, May 21st, and if you are so inclined, you can find me anywhere online as Nadira Tani. If you are a new viewer, welcome to my little spot on the internet. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. As you can hear, my voice sounds like I have been gargling rocks. That's because I've been sick for like a week and a half now. Yeah, about a week and a half now. This past Thursday, I completely lost my voice and still had to go to work, and I work in a call center. So I sounded 18 kinds of crazy on the phone, but evidently not crazy enough for people not to be able to ask me questions and understand what I'm saying. So we're dealing with the voice situation. Today I have, the huge. I have some finished and mostly finished objects, some works in progress, and a couple new things. This past week or so, craft-wise for me, has been more sewing heavy, I think, than knitting. There's definitely been like no crocheting, but I'm looking to remedy that soon. I have some ideas running around in my head that need to be brought into the real world. But so let's just jump into it. Finished and mostly finished things. I only have one real finished object for this episode, and I don't have it to show you because it's actually a skirt that I made for my friend Tiffany. Her birthday is coming up, and she asked me to make her a skirt out of an African print fabric. So we found this kente cloth print fabric from Joann's, and we were gonna make, or I was gonna make, a gathered skirt. So she showed me a couple pictures that she had for inspiration, and as you do when you want to learn something new, I watched a couple videos on YouTube and I was like, I got this. So I told my mom today, I was like, me sewing this skirt with like not really any instruction was kind of like the first time I changed a tire, where I knew in theory how to do it, but then in like real life situation, man, things was getting done out of order, and halfway through the skirt, I'm just like, that waistband is too small. What do I do? So there was a whole lot of like problem solving in the moment, and I told her for a second there, I was like, I don't know how this skirt's gonna come out. Mind you, we did all of the construction and cutting and finishing and everything last night because she wanted to have me take pictures of her today. So yeah, last night was quite the adventure. But glad to say we successfully got a skirt out of the situation. It went from it's going to be a solid waistband to, okay, we're going to add more fabric and it'll be a waistband that you can tie into a bow. But then it became the fabric we added wasn't long enough for the bow, so we're going to cut it short and put some buttons. And I think that when they say all things work together, I think that getting to the buttons was the best possible ending for this skirt, because the buttons that I was able to put on it had like Egyptian hieroglyphs on it. So it was just kind of like an African continental like situation on the skirt, and I really liked it. And she really likes it, so I count that as a win. I'll put a couple pictures here so that you can see like the finished skirt. I'll do a close-up of the buttons because, no lie, I've been holding on to those buttons since college. So I've had those buttons for more than 10 years now. So on to the next thing. So I have a mostly finished object, or as Chanel of the Piperno podcast would call it, a mofo, and I have a half object, a hoe. So we'll go with the mostly finished object first, which I am super excited about. And I think I have two mofos. Okay, I'm gonna show you the first mofo is the dry run of the gathered skirt. So I made a gathered skirt to my measurements just so that I could like do the process and do it and make sure that I could actually put the thing together. So this is the first gathered skirt that I did, and it doesn't look too bad. That's the front, that's the back. Not too bad with the zip and stuff like that. And it's a mofo because I haven't hemmed it, and you can see it still has the selvage down there. And fun fact, these are price tags from like where the fabric was originally from. I thrifted this fabric, no surprise. But yeah, so I think what I'm gonna do is take it up by like maybe 3 inches and hem it, and then it'll be good to go. It fits my waist nicely. So yeah, that was my first go at doing the gathered skirt. So I think it came out pretty nicely, so that at least when I went to do Tiffany's skirt, I wasn't like completely green, just like mostly green. But no, so that is the first mofo that I have. It's pretty much a finished object. If realistically speaking, if this selvage was the same color as this part, I wouldn't even hem it. I would just leave it. But since it's like white and has like codes and stuff on it, I suppose I'll just hem it like I'm supposed to. So that's that one. Now, onto the next mostly finished object, and this is the one that I'm super excited about. This is my project for the Great Unravel 2017. Yay! So it's mostly finished because I still need to do the neckline. This pattern is Bad Penny by, I don't forgot the lady's name. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. This is Bad Penny by this lovely lady here. Here. It was super simple. Basically raglan, plain stockinette. This is one of the other reasons that I'm calling it a mostly finished object. If you look closely, you can see that there are eyelets. Like, that's not just like me knitting wonky. There are eyelets that go through the ribbing, and it's supposed to be like a zigzag chevron pattern, but because of like the texture of the yarn and everything like that, you can't really see it. So this yarn was reclaimed from a sweater that I thrifted, and it is what is this one? This is a polyester, nylon polyester mix, I think. But yeah, so it's lightweight. It's like a ribbon kind of fabric, a ribbon kind of yarn. I actually have the second ball here. Well, this is all that's left from the first ball. After I frogged the sweater, I had like 400 and something grams of yarn, and so I split it into 2 balls, and I knit from, one ball. Was able to get like the whole body and the little tiny, like the little cap sleeves from the first ball, with just like this little bit left over. But you can see like what kind of structure it has. It's not spun. It's like literally a ribbon. But it's really lightweight, which I was looking for because being in Florida, it's getting up there, and it's muggy and hot and gross outside. Like, you walk outside and poof, sweat. That's how it goes. Open the door, sweat, sweat. So I wanted to make a garment, but I wanted to make something that I could actually wear in Florida and not die. Enter the bad penny top. So I'm really excited about this top. I really like it. The pattern actually called for ribbing, like 1x1 ribbing to be done on the sleeves and the neckline. But I tried this on and I really like the way that it sits on my shoulders with this wide neck. So I think I'm just going to do like maybe like 4 to 6 rows of stockinette just around the neckline and just bind it off like that. That's what I did on the sleeves. I did 3 extra rows of stockinette just around the sleeves after I picked up the stitches, and then I cast off with Jenny's Magic Cast On. Jenny, surprisingly, whoever she is, Jenny or Judy's super stretchy bind off. I need to learn the difference between those ladies because I kind of feel a little bit embarrassed. I can never remember who's binding on or casting off or binding, whatever it is. JSSBO. That's what that is. So yeah. Aside from doing the neckline, after I do the neckline, I'm going to soak it and block it and see what that ribbing at the bottom looks like. If it still looks like you can't see the chevron lace pattern, then I'm going to rip out all of the ribbing at the bottom and then just knit plain stockinette because I don't really like the ribbing. Primarily, I think the fault was mine because the pattern tells you to change your needle size, but I didn't because the needles for this project, it was quite the tale of woe. But by the time I got to here, I was like, no, I'm just going to keep the same needle size. And I really think that that was a poor choice because now you can't really, there's really no difference between the stockinette body and the knitting or the ribbing. So I think I might just rip that out. It depends on what it looks like after blocking and like have the stitches even out and stuff. So I might just rip that out and then do plain stockinette straight down and bind it off. So it'll be just like a completely simple top. And I posted a picture of me wearing the top on Instagram, and I'll insert that so that you can see what it looks like on, because people keep asking me like, oh, who's that for? It's for me. Oh, that looks big. I'm bigger than I look, people. Okay? Take that. So yeah, that is my project for the Great Unravel, and this is how much yarn I have left. So last episode I was talking about wondering if I was going to do a top or a shawl with my Great Unravel yarn, and it looks like I'm going to be able to do both. And I was recently watching, well, I watched both of them. I recently watched Wool Needles Hands, Taylor of Wool Needles Hands, and Caitlin of Wool Jewel. They both recently put out a podcast, and I watched them, and they were both talking about how the end date for the Great Unravel was extended. Originally, it was June, I think 16th or 17th, and they've moved it out. So that could definitely give me enough time to make a shawl with this. And my thoughts are still as they were before. I'm going to use this as well as the other unraveled yarn for a Age of Brass and Steam kerchief by Orange Flower Knits. I think that's what it is. So if that's not what it's called, I'll just put it at the bottom as you do. So these are going to grow up to be a Age of Brass and Steam. Hopefully by the end of the knit along. If not by the end of the knit along, then whatever. I'll just have another shawl, which I have been using my shawls so much more now at work, because when you live in Florida, one thing you find out is that if you work in an office building, when you get dressed in the morning, you can't dress like you live in Florida. You can't like, oh, you know, it's hot outside, so I'm going to wear short sleeves or a breezy dress if you live in an office building. Because yes, you'll be hot going from your house to the car to the building. But once you get in the building, it's freezing cold because air conditioning. And my desk at work is right under a vent. So I'm like always in a sweater. I feel like people look at me crazy when I'm walking into the building because I'll be wearing like a sweater to work. And they're like, the high today is 90. Let me just go ahead and put this sweater on. Story of my life. So that's the end of the mostly finished objects. I do have a half object, which is right here. Let me hide those ends, because y'all know I don't weave in ends for real. It's just a suggestion. So this, as I hold it in front of my face, is my Hermione Takes a Break sock. So if you look, you see those textured stripes? Those are the pattern, the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern by Erica Luter. And what I did was each stripe is two repeats of the texture pattern, and then I did 6 rows of stockinette, and then, you know, the texture pattern again. I did a rounded toe, the foot, short row heel, and then the leg was however much I had left in, you know, the ball, and then the cuff. These socks are going to be for my mom, because when I was knitting my pair of socks out of this yarn, and this yarn is Barocco socks in the 1406 Dinah's colorway. When I was knitting my socks in these, my mom kept mentioning how pretty they were and how she would love to have a pair of socks in that yarn, and hint taken. So I just used whatever I had left over, and then the heels, toes, and cuffs are Deborah Norval. I don't have the band on the yarn. I think it's Deborah Norval's Serenity sock in the purple colorway, and I really like how the purple just worked in with the Dinah's. It's really pretty. So I haven't cast on the second one yet, and this is the purple, and then this is the ball for the second one. So I'll cast that one on. These were done toe up because I didn't know how much yarn I was going to have of my main color. So, and I did 20 rows of 2x2 rib with the surprisingly stretchy bind off. Jenny's? Yes, it's Judy's Magic Cast On and Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. Boom. Anyway, so Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. I haven't even taken like any cold medicine or anything. This is just my regular amount of crazy weird. But yeah, so this will be sock 2. I will cast those on, I don't know, probably this week. Considering how much I got done on my bad penny top, because that's what I was mostly working on this week at work. So I'll go ahead and cast on sock number 2 so I can finish these and get them to my mom so she can stop being like, where's my sock? I want my sock. So yeah. So that's the end of my mostly finished objects, half objects, and finished objects section. So the next section that we're going to go on to are my works in progress. And I have 3 technically. Only 2 of them have seen the light of day this week. The third one is that pair of black socks that I showed you last week. They're black, DK weight, 3x1 rib man socks. And they are so boring, which is why they have not gotten anything done on them this week. So we're just going to gloss on past them and move on to the more interesting works in progress. So I have this one, and this is a prototype bag. One of my friends was like, oh, you should try doing bags with like a leather-like bottom. So this bag has, it's kind of like a vinyl leather, and I'm playing around with it to see if I like it. So, yeah. So this has my syncopated bees. I also didn't write down the designer, so I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. So this has my syncopated bee shawl in it, which has seen a little bit of change. And of course, for some silly reason, I moved the stitch marker or the progress keeper before filming. I feel like last time I showed you this, I was just getting into the syncopated garter section. But this is how far I've gotten. Let me stretch out just a little bit here. So the syncopated bees pattern has, how can I show you this? Let's show you this. This is a little fiddly. Here we go. It has 3 rows, so you have 3 sections of syncopated garter. So you'll have like stockinette on this side, and then the spine, and then reverse stockinette, spine, stockinette, stockinette, spine, reverse stockinette. And then you have a bee stitch, just like that. Well, you can see it better in the yellow section, like that. So, and then the same thing goes for the yellow. So syncopated garter, bee stitch. So I am currently working on the bee stitch section, and you have to work the pattern or the bee stitch pattern until you have 150 stitches between your between the garter beginning and the spine. And I think I'm at like 93. No, I think I'm at 101. But that is so much, and it's so small. I'm losing steam on this, to be honest, but I really want the finished object because this is going to be my my Oakwood shawl. And Oakwood, I went to Oakwood University in Alabama, and I am going back up near the school over the summer for a wedding, and my goal is to have this shawl finished so that I can take pictures of it at the school. So the wedding is July 4th weekend, so I need to get it done. But it's just so many stitches, and it's not even that many stitches. This is what, like if I'm at 101 on one side, that's what, 202. Yeah, that's a lot of stitches. Never mind, I take it back. It's a lot of stitches. So the yarn is Cascade Heritage Sock in just like the yellow and the navy blue. The needles are just some ones from Joann's. Susan Bates, I think. And what size are they? I want to say 3.5, 3.25. They're 3.25. And originally I was knitting these on, or knitting this on a 40-inch bamboo set of needles that I got from Amazon. It had like a plastic cord. But what I discovered when the shawl got long enough where it needed to be on the cord was that the yarn wasn't passing over the cord smoothly, so I ended up having to like struggle to pass it back and forth, which was really slowing me down. So I put it on these needles and it moves better, but they're just not as long, so I feel a little bit wonky like when I'm knitting on it because, you know, that happens. See? So what I'm probably going to do, I'm probably going to end up buying a set of Chow Goulet because I really like the Chow Goulet needles and I like the cord. I might end up buying a set, but this is done on 3.25, and then I went through all the other shawls that I kind of want to make, and then ones that I know that I want to make that I have yarn for to see what size those are on. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is buying a 3.5 because more of the shawls that I want to make are set on 3.5 millimeter needles. And then I'll just switch this over to 3.5 and keep it pushing. I mean, it's 0.25 of a millimeter on a shawl. Who cares? Not me. So yeah, anything to make the knitting easier. That is Syncopated Bees. I'm losing steam on it. It's making me a little bit crazy in the head. But hopefully when I do get the 3.5 millimeter needles, it'll go faster. Hopefully. But I mean, the pattern itself, what I like about the pattern though, before I go on to my next work in progress, I like that the pattern is more of a recipe. Once you get like into that second color change, you kind of see, okay, it's increasing like this much in each section. So you can make the shawl as big as you want or as small as you want. I prefer to have like bigger shawls that I can wrap around me, like, you know, toss over both shoulders. So I know I'm going to be knitting on that forever. I only have until July 4th weekend, and we're going to be driving up. So I could be binding this baby off in the car, which I have no problem doing. I just want to have it done so that I can take pictures of it at my school, because that would be so cool. So yeah, Syncopated Bees. My next work in progress, I just started yesterday. Yeah, was it yesterday? I cast it on Friday night, but I really worked on it yesterday. I think I cast it on and did like maybe 5 rounds Friday night, and then the rest of the work, or the rest of the knitting I did yesterday. And it is in my, oh, I've got little tails on there. This is my bag that I got from Linen SoCal. Something like that. But she was my swap partner. If you can hear that, that's Tootie. She's yelling at somebody. This is regular people. Tootie, can you be quiet? Anyway, she was my swap partner for the Stitch Kit swap that was done. Oh, I don't remember when this was done. Was it November? It was a while ago. But she made me this lovely bag. And this swap, you had to make a bag and then also put in it a skein of sock yarn that matched the bag or coordinated with the bag. So I haven't used that sock yarn yet because I'm like hoarding it. And I'm like, oh, it was given to me by this nice lady. And she gave me pressed pennies that her kids pressed because I collect them. And it was so cute. So cute. But, and this is the inside. So yeah, I need to learn how to make dividers in my bags because this is pretty cool. You can see the divider. Anywho, so this is a pair of socks I cast on. My stitch marker is counting my rows, but that's what the yarn looks like. And this is just going to be a set of vanilla socks, and the yarn is the Rowan Fine Art that I purchased a few weeks ago. I feel like these are going to be my most fancy socks to date. Yes, because this yarn, it's premium hand-painted sock yarn made with merino wool, kid mohair, and mulberry silk. My toes are going to be happy. So yeah, this is in the pheasant colorway. And I got this from my local Tuesday Morning. So this is what it looks like in the cake. Hello, can we show a pretty part of this cake? Come on now. Get it together. There we go. So that's that. I wanted to cast this yarn on because I haven't knit with anything that was dyed in like kind of stripes. And I wanted to know if I would like something like that. Like, I want to try a variegated sock yarn as well as a speckled sock yarn to see if I like those kind of dye techniques, so that whenever I look out and, you know, if I do start buying more hand-dyed yarn or indie dyed yarn, I know what kinds of yarn that I would like to use. So there's those. And one of my projects, or one of my goals for the year, was to discover or figure out my ideal sock pattern, my ideal vanilla sock. So up until it was either the shamrock socks that I recently did or the mercury socks that I recently finished that had a 60 stitch leg, and they fit. So I was like, okay. So up until then I had been doing 64 stitches on all of my socks. So this sock I'm doing 60 stitches to see how that fits and if I like that fit better than the 64. So that is something that I'm testing out with these. I think I'm also going to put in like a whirlwind toe to see if I like the shape of that toe compared to the rounded toe that I do now. I do know that with the rounded toe that I do now, I want to make it a little bit longer, so I'm going to be adjusting the rows and everything like that to lengthen that rounded toe because it's really squat toe right now. But yeah, so I did like almost all of this knitting yesterday afternoon. After church, we had dinner at church, and then I started knitting on them, you know, after dinner, and like everybody was sitting around talking, so I was knitting on the socks, and my mother-in-law was like, "Is that for a baby?" No. They're for me. And then we had like a kind of like a concert after church, or after the dinner. We had a concert, and it was sitting in the concert, I was knitting on them, and I'm so glad that I can knit in the round without looking, for real. So I was able to just enjoy the concert and just have my hands going. And that just made me feel like so much more like peaceful, or like more engaged, you know? Like I wasn't wanting to be on my phone, or I wasn't wanting to like doodle or anything like that because I had my hands going. So that was pretty cool. And I got all of that done. And when I looked at the end of the concert and I looked at how much I had, I was like, I've almost finished the entire leg of this sock within a couple hours. I didn't know I could knit that fast. Knit all the socks. So yeah, those socks, I don't know, I'm going to try to make them a back burner knit so that I can get other things, you know, done. Like get my mom's socks off the needles. Get those black socks off the needles. Because if I can knit a whole leg of a sock in fingering weight in a couple hours, there is no reason that it should be taking me so long to knit a DK weight. It's just boring. That's it. It's just boring. So yeah. So those are all of my works in progress. I am going to be entering these socks into the Happy Knitting podcast, Keeping It Vanilla Cow. I'm going to enter them in that. And my Oakwood shawl doesn't qualify for anything, so I won't be able to enter that into anything. The Bad Penny top, which is mostly finished, is going to be in the Great Unravel 2017, as well as Opera Joe of Stitching the High Notes. She's hosting a summer garment cal, and I'm going to enter that in there as well. Because why not enter all the things? Why not? The Hermione Takes a Break. Oh, that's the ugly side. Hermione Takes a Break will be going into Miss Lavelli's year-long Harry Potter knit-along. So whenever I finish them, they'll go into that month. And I think that's all the cows. That's all the cows. That's all of my works in progress, my mostly finished objects, everything like that I have to show you. So next up, I was going to talk about my needle adjacent projects, which I've already shown you one, the Age of Brass and Steam that I'm going to be doing with the rest of my unraveled yarn. I want to cast on a pair of Socks on a Plane. Who's that by? Socks on a Plane by Laura Linerman or Lineman. I can't read my handwriting. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. But the Socks on the Plane pattern is it's a plain sock with just a simple cable that goes down the side. And I've never knit cables before. So I figured that would be a good way to like ease into like cables. And I've been looking at like simple brioche patterns to try, to like have an idea of when I do decide that I want to try brioche, to have some super simple projects ready to try. I found like a blanket project that is 2-color brioche flat, and then I found a cowl that's 2-color brioche in the round. And I think Stephen West has a brioche hat pattern. I feel like I've seen that. But yeah, so I want to try brioche because I hear people like ranting and raving about it, about how awesome it is. And like most recently, Joy of the Anxious Knitter podcast was talking about how much she loved the Sizzle Pop. That's what it is. How much she loved the brioche in it. And I was like, I haven't tried brioche. I want to try that, learn something new, which would be really cool. So yeah. The only other thing that I have upcoming is a sewing project. And this is another thing that my friend Tiffany asked me to do. When we were in the store picking out the fabric for her skirt, we went past the remnant section and she saw this. She was like, oh my goodness, this is so cute. Could you make a blanket for Matthew? And I was like, sure. So she picked up this fleece with Thomas the Train. And she said, this is exactly how the conversation went. Matthew, do you want a blanket in this? Yes. That is how much space was between the question and the answer. I don't even think he like breathed. Yes. So we got this. It's almost a yard. And then I got this red fabric today. And I think what I'm going to do, or at least this is what's in my head, clearly, when I don't have a pattern, anything is possible. That sounds like a great thing. When I don't have a pattern, anything is possible. It's true. But no, what I'm thinking about doing is I'll have the fleece on one side and then the broadcloth on the back for the lining. stitch them together around, and then have maybe a fringe of the fleece going around it. That's as far as the plan has gotten. It's very loose, very general, not drawn out on paper, nothing solidified, no measurements, no nothing. So yeah, we're just gonna do a little sewing freestyling, and yeah, before it's finished, or no, before I give it to him, I'll definitely take pictures so that I can show it to you guys. But yeah, so that I want to get this done this week, because this coming weekend, all of the friends are going away for Tiffany's birthday. And I think it would be cool, like, if he had it, like, for the car or, like, in the hotel or whatever. So that's the plan. We'll see what happens. Because I have a lot of confidence in myself, evidently. Yeah. So that's all of the makes that I have to show you. The last couple sections, I do want to show you some fabric that I got, which I'm super excited about. Like, when I went into one of my local fabric stores that I rarely go to because it's a little bit out of my way. But when I tell you, I went in this fabric store and I almost lost my mind. Like, I was just in there like, just take all my money. Here's all my monies. It's for you. I wanted to buy all the things. I didn't. I was good. It was really good. And I videotaped all of the fabrics that I wanted to buy. So I have them with me in spirit digitally. So this is what I got. Which order should I show you these things in? All right, I'm going to show them to you in like order of like excitement, as the excitement was rising. So these first two fabrics, I will say these first two fabrics, I was completely enabled by the internet. Completely and utterly enabled. If I had never seen these fabrics on the internet or heard of this designer or like maker on the internet, I would have been like, oh, that's pretty, and kept it pushing. But because you cannot watch any sewing person and they not mention Cotton and Steel, Rifle Paper Co., like that collaboration, because you cannot not hear about that. When I was walking through the fabric store and I see a sign that said Cotton and Steel, I was like, and I was like looking through the fabrics, and they really are beautiful fabrics. So like I said, I was good. And I got two fat quarters. I got this one, which is lemons, like little lemons. I thought that was appropriate because, you know, Florida with all the citrus and whatnot. So I got that one. And then I got this one. And I cannot remember who I saw make something with this. I saw it recently and I cannot for the life of me remember who did it. So if you are like an avid podcast watcher and you know, like, put it in the comments so that I can stop trying to rack my brain to remember who made something out of this print. But this is so lovely and it's so dainty. So yeah, I got these two from the Cotton and Steel Rifle Paper Co. line at the store. And I'm really excited to make a couple bags out of those. I think out of a fat quarter, I can get a large bag and a small bag. No, a large bag and a medium bag. Yeah, out of one fat quarter. I think I can do that. So that will be, those will be finding their way into my shop, which I have some shop news for you. And then I got another fat quarter, and this is the point where I was like, okay, you can have all my money, sewing studio. I got this. Just look at that. Just look at those fancy ladies. Oh my goodness. It just made me so happy. It's so happy. So I got a fat quarter of this one. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. I feel like I just want to have it. My best friend said that I should make like a notebook cover so that I can always keep the fabric. We'll see. I don't know what this is going to be yet. It's just going to hang out with me for a little bit. The last three are, I got half a yard of each of them. And they are African prints. So we got that one. That one. I just love these colors so stinking much. And that one. I just love them so much. This is my favorite thing that I have bought in a very long time. And like, I was in the fabric store, cheesing like a loon, looking through all the different African prints they had, because like you don't really see them anywhere. And these are authentic wax cloths. Okay, so I'm going to stop mooning over the fabrics, but yeah. So that's what I got. These are my new fabrics added to my stash. They will make very special bags. I tell you, I'm going to have a hard time listing these. But Kalisha, you cannot just make fabric or make bags for yourself. You have to share them with the world. So there's that. The last two things that I had in my stash acquisition section were a set of Chiaogu knitting needles. These are 5mm 32-inch Chiaogu red lace, and this, which is vinyl fuse. This is because I want to try making a bag that is waterproof. Because one of the ladies that I spoke with at the market that I was set up to sell at a couple weeks ago, she was saying how she wanted to do like a lunch bag for her kids, kind of like the zipper pouches that I made, but she was like, I need it to be like where you can wipe it out if anything spills. So I discovered this, and this is basically an iron-on vinyl that you can iron onto any of your fabric. So I thought that this would be really cool to test out and see if that would, see how it behaves in like a zipper pouch or zipper bag situation. And I have some other bags that I've been playing around with that same kind of idea that I'll show you in a second. But these here, this was the end of a tale of woe. Now I told you that the needles for this, my bad penny top, was a tale of woe. I started off with, I think, some random 5mm needles that I had. And I'm working along and it's okay. And then the cord was an awkward length. I think it was like a 28-inch, 29, 28. whichever the length is between 16 and the 32. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough cord to magic loop, but it was too much cord to have all the stitches on the, like, just all the way around. So I went up because I had a 40-inch in the bamboo with the plastic cording or cabling. I went up to a 40-inch and I'm knitting along, and it's okay. Like, the stitches are not sliding over the plastic cord cabling like I wanted them to. And I was just like pressing through. It's just like, whatever. This is what I have. This is what I'm going to do. As I'm moving down the body, it was just getting really irritating. And I didn't want to work on the project. And I'm like, okay, let me just look and see how much, a Chaogu set is. Because all of my sock knitting, not all of them, like my metal sock needles are Chaogu. And I really like them. And so I went on to see what, one would cost. I went on Amazon and I got these for like $9 and change, and there was free shipping. So I was like, oh, okay. So I ordered them. They came super fast, and I was able to put this onto here. And when I tell you, as soon as I got them off of those the bamboo needles with the plastic cabling, I was just able to go so much faster. And because they're 32 inches, I didn't have to magic loop, which I was magic looping with the 40-inch, and it was frustrating. So I got them on 32, and I was able to just knit, and that's when it picked up. I was able to get the body done and dusted. So that's why I'm really, really considering getting that 3.5 Chaogu for my Oakwood shawl, because of how fast this picked up after I put it on these. That's what I want to do. I'm like really talking myself into it now. Yeah. So life and things, I guess, is now. We'll start off with some Quirky Monday shop talk. So I officially have started my Etsy shop, Quirky Monday Crafts. It is live. I will put the website at the bottom of the screen, and all of my bags are listed. They are up, they are photoed, they are live out into the world, and I'm a little bit terrified about it, to be honest. It's much later than I originally planned. I originally planned to get them all listed by like last week, but as I told you, been sick. Don't want to do anything when you're sick. So everything is live, guys. If you want a Quirky Monday bag, you can go to the website and buy one. I think that I'm right now an equal amount of excited and terrified. That's pretty cool. I think I've rambled on enough for you guys today. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that you have a wonderful week. I hope you enjoyed the episode and the chit chat. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already for more videos. And also, I do want to do the share something that brought you joy in the comments. Because back when I did the share a pick-me-up, that was really an inspiring thing for me to read and have all of those pick-me-ups on there. So I figure that in a environment that we have here, if we're all taking a moment to just share something good that happened to you in the comments, and then other people read those comments, our happiness can give other people some happiness. And that's what I would love to have come from this. Thanks again for sharing your time with me. And I hope you have a wonderful and joyful week. Bye.